Dayani, will you read for us our first learning target, please? It starts with I can.
I can demonstrate understanding of different experts / parts of thesis in the monitor.
Brilliant, thank you. And then Brianna, will you read our second learning target down here? Starts with I can again.
I can use context clues to determine the meaning of unfamiliar words.
Brilliant, thank you, Brianna. And everyone show me on your fingers, if you forgot what our learning targets are, what slide could you find them on? Yeah, nice, Sandy. Nice. I'm seeing lots of twos. Nice, Brianna. Nice, Liliana. Yep, slide 2, right? You can always find our learning targets on slide 2. Okay, so you'll see that I included our hard work from yesterday, right? From our first part of Theseus and the Minotaur. We learned that Theseus is ambitious. He volunteers himself to fight the Minotaur. We also learned that King Aegeus told Theseus that if he comes back victorious, he needs to replace the black sails with white sails so that King Aegeus knows that Theseus has been victorious and has beaten the Minotaur. All right, we're going to start on slide number 5. Give me a thumbs up when you have slide number 5 in front of you. Yeah, nice, Sandy. Nice, Kyrie. Awesome. Nice, Brianna. Nice, Marlene. All right, we have slide number 5 in front of us. There are 2 questions at the very bottom. The first one says, who was victorious in the battle of the Minotaur and Theseus? Sophia, I want you to answer for me after I read question number 1. All right, you're going to answer who was victorious. Thank you for nodding. And then Kimberly, I want you to answer number 2, how we know who was victorious. Give me a thumbs up if that's okay. All right, awesome. So we're actually going to read just the very bottom 2 paragraphs right here, starting with when the Minotaur. So starting right down here, starting with when the Minotaur. When the Minotaur saw Theseus, it instantly lowered his sharp horns, exactly like a mad bull. They began an awful fight. The Minotaur ran at Theseus, grazed his left side with his horn, and flung him down. The Minotaur thought he was victorious, but Theseus leaped up and caught the monster off guard. He cut his bull head off his human body, which fell flat down upon the ground. Eager to let Ariadne know of his success, he followed the thread back to the entrance of the labyrinth. You have slain the monster, cried Ariadne, clasping her hand. Thanks to you, dear Ariadne, answered Theseus. I return victorious. So, Sophia, who was victorious in this battle? Theseus or the Minotaur? Which basically means like who won.
Like who won?
Yeah.
The Minotaur.
The Minotaur won. Why do you say the Minotaur won?
Because I don't know.
That's okay. Kimberly, who do you think won and why?
I think Theseus won because he caught the Minotaur off guard.
Yeah, Theseus won. Go ahead, Kimberly, keep going.
And like killed him.
Yeah, Theseus won and he killed him, right? He caught the Minotaur off guard. Sophia, will you please read for me at the very, very end, the very last section, very last sentence? What does Theseus say?
He says, thanks to you, dear Ariadne, answered Theseus. I returned victorious.
Right, and so now we know that Theseus has beaten the Minotaur. He has returned victorious. And like Kimberly said in her own words, he tricked the Minotaur, right? Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, awesome. So Theseus, so when we're saying, how do you know? We could put it in our own words, just like Kimberly did by saying he tricked the Minotaur. You could also copy down that exact quote saying, Theseus said, I returned victorious, right? So we've got that good evidence, and Kimberly also did a good job putting it in her own words. Give me a thumbs up when you're ready to move on to the next one. So we got the Theseus one. Kyrie's ready. Great. Brianna's ready. Awesome. Liliana's ready. We've got the Theseus one, and we know that because he tricked the Minotaur. We also have that piece of evidence. All right, awesome. So we're going to do slide 6 together, and then y'all are going to go into breakout rooms to complete the last slide together in your different breakout rooms.
Alter means to change.
Awesome, Liliana. Awesome. Alter means to change, to change. And then Liliana, were you using past knowledge, or did you use some words in those sentences to help you out?
Past knowledge.
Past knowledge, and that's fine, right? That's a really good way that we can figure out what unfamiliar words are, is we draw on our background knowledge. D'Angelo, were you going to suggest a helpful word, or did you want to provide the definition of alter? I thought I saw your hand. Oh, he didn't mean to do that. All good. So if we're thinking about how alter means to change, what words in this sentence King Aegeus had said to use white sails instead of black ones if Theseus were to return victorious? What words in that sentence might help us figure out what alter means? Thinking about to change as the definition. What is he altering? What's he altering? What's he changing? Yeah, Delilah.
The cells black to white.
Right, exactly, right? So that would be really helpful. We could literally say that our helpful words are black to white, right? We know that what he's changing is the sails from black to white. Good teamwork. So alter does mean to change. Liliana did a good job using her background knowledge. Delilah did a good job of telling us what helpful words might help us figure that out. All right, number 2 is this bolded word exuberance. This bolded word exuberance. Raise your hand if you've ever heard this word exuberance before. Okay, this is a new word for us. So if Theseus were to have defeated the Minotaur, how do you think that he might be feeling? He defeated this big monster. Dayani, how do you think that he might be feeling if he defeated the Minotaur and was successful?
Tired?
He might feel tired, absolutely. But exuberance actually means the opposite of tired. So he was like, what is the opposite of tired, Dayani?
Did he feel like adrenaline? Like, how do you say it?
Yeah, adrenaline. He feels like an adrenaline rush. He feels excited. Great word. Adrenaline rush and excited. And what I really like about Dayani's contribution is that if you did say in the like tiredness of his success, however, he forgot to alter the sails from black to white, that word would like still work, right? But Theseus is, we know that he's like arrogant. He likes to complete heroic tasks. So him being successful in completing this heroic task with that word success, excited, that helps us figure out what exuberance means. So Dayani was right in the sense that you could actually replace it with tiredness and that sentence would still work. When we're thinking about Theseus as someone who loves to complete heroic acts, we know that success in these heroic acts might make him really excited, really happy. Exuberance means like super excited, super happy. You could have an adrenaline rush for sure. So number 3, Theseus forgot to change the sails because he was so excited. What might this tell us about Theseus as a character or about heroes? Theseus forgot to change the sails because he was so excited. What do you think that this tells us about Theseus as a person? Give space for volunteer first. And then if we don't have a volunteer, Brianna, I want you to tell me what this tells us about Theseus as a person. I don't think we have a volunteer yet. Brianna, what do you think this tells us about Theseus?
Wait, what?
So Theseus forgot to take down these sails, which was kind of his one task that he had to do according to his father. What do you think that this tells us about Theseus?
I don't know.
That's okay. There's no right or wrong answer here. Do we think that this tells us that Theseus can be, oh, Marlene, yes, before I go into that, what did you want to say?
That maybe he's forgetful.
Perfect, right? He's forgetful. He's forgetful. He had this really key task of replacing the sails, altering the sails from black to white if he won, and he completely forgot. So yeah, he's forgetful, right? Does that make sense? All right. So give me a thumbs up when you're ready to move on to our next slide. Okay, I'm seeing a lot of thumbs. Awesome. All right. So our next slide, I want you all to answer these in breakout rooms, all right? I'll read this section for you and then I'm gonna put you guys into breakout rooms. I want you to tell me what King Aegeus thought when he saw the ship sailing towards him and what makes you think that. I'm going to read the second question and then Emily, I want you to read the third question for us, all right? So first you're thinking about what King Aegeus thought when he saw the ship sailing towards him. Then you're going to tell me what did King Aegeus do as a result? Why did he die? And then what's our third question, Emily? Emily, come off of mute and read our third question, please.
What happened?
You're reading our third question for us, Emily. It starts with how did.
How did your group feel when you read?
Read.
Oh, okay. Read the King
Aegeus.
Aegeus jumped off a cliff. If you felt different things, that all right.
Awesome. And then number 4, what theme, what message might we learn about human or hero behavior from what happened to Theseus and King Aegeus, all right? So those are the 4 questions you'll be answering in your breakout room. I will read the passage really quickly. We'll assess how you're feeling, and then I'll put you guys into breakout rooms. Each day, poor King Aegeus had climbed to the top of a cliff and sat watching for Prince Theseus. As soon as he saw the black sails, he thought that his dear son had been devoured by the Minotaur. He could not bear the thought of living any longer, so he leaned forward and fell headlong over the cliff and drowned in the ocean. This was melancholy news, which means like really sad news for Prince Theseus, who when he stepped ashore found himself king of all the country. However, he sent for his dear mother, and by taking her advice, he became a very excellent king who was greatly beloved by his people. So show me on your fingers. 1, I'm so confused. 2, I'm kind of confused. 3, I got it. 4, I could explain it to a friend. All right, I'm seeing 3s. I'm seeing some 2s. All right, I'll be hopping into our rooms that I'm seeing 2s on, and otherwise I'll put you guys in the breakout rooms. You're going to have 8 minutes to answer all of these questions. All right? Breakout room number 1 is going to answer, make sure you're on mute, please. Breakout room number 1 will be answering number 1 for us. Breakout room number 2 will be answering number 2. Breakout room number 3 will be answering number 3. Breakout room number 4 will be answering number 4. All right, but you are answering all of them together in these 8 minutes. All right, my breakout room number 4, Edward and Sophia, get those videos on for me, please. Let's look at number 1. Let's look at number 1. And Mario, I want you to answer number 1 for me, please, all right? So number 1 says, what did King Aegeus think when he saw the ship sailing towards him? So do you remember what King Aegeus told Theseus to do if he was victorious? What he needed to change?
To put the white flag?
Yeah, right? He needed to change the sails from black to white. So when King Aegeus saw the ship sailing towards him with black sails and not white sails, what do you think he thought? So if Theseus was supposed to put up white sails if he was victorious and have black sails if he was not victorious, if he did not win, and King Theseus saw this sail with black sails, or saw this boat with black sails, what do you think that he thought about what happened between Theseus and the Minotaur?
He thought that Theseus died.
Yeah, absolutely. And how did you know that, Mario?
I read the thing.
Yeah, you read it. Well, right, we were also thinking about how Mario knew that because when I said that he came back with black sails instead of white sails, then Mario inferred that that meant that King Aegeus probably thought that Theseus did not win because he saw black sails instead of white sails. All right, number two, Sandy. When King Aegeus saw those black sails, what did he do? When he saw those black sails, what did he do? And do you want me to read the sentence for you? Yeah, okay. So he could not bear the thought, this is King Aegeus, of living any longer, so he leaned forward and fell headlong over the cliff. So what did he do when he thought that Theseus had died?
He like jumped off the cliff.
He jumped off the cliff. You're right, Sandy. And why do you think he did that?
Because he thought his son died.
Yeah. Yeah, he jumped off the cliff because he thought his son died, right? He was sad. Edward and Carlos, I want to see your faces in the video for me, please, just like Mario Sophia has, and Sandy. Carlos, video. Thank you, Edward. He jumped off the cliff because he was sad. Thanks, Carlos. He jumped off the cliff because he was sad. Absolutely. All right, number three. Edward, how did you feel when King Aegeus jumped off that cliff?
Kind of sad.
Kind of sad, right? Kind of sad. It was a pretty emotional thing to read, right? King Aegeus was so heartbroken that he jumped off the cliff, and that made me kind of sad when I read it too. Did anybody feel anything different that they want to share? I think it's probably fair that a lot of us felt sad. He saw the ship sailing towards him. My breakout room number one.
He thought that his son has died.
He thought that his son had died, right? He thought that his son had died. Absolutely. He thought Theseus died. Excellent. Breakout room number two, which was Delilah, Olivia, Miss MJ, Nelson, Yair, and D'Angelo. What did King Aegeus do when he thought his son had died?
He committed suicide.
Yeah, and do you remember how he did that? Delilah has her hand raised. Delilah, how did he do that?
He jumped off the cliff into the water.
You're right, D'Angelo. Absolutely. Next time, let Lila have a chance to speak, but you're absolutely right. Great answer. He committed suicide by jumping off the cliff into the water. Cliff into the water. Nice. All right, breakout room number three, which was Alondra, Chevelle, Bayani, Emily, Julio, and Liliana. How did your group feel when you read that?
He sad because his son died for no reason.
Yeah, so we felt sad because, so King Aegeus felt sad because his son died. How did you as a breakout room feel when you read it? Were you also sad? Or did you feel something different?
We felt bad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. Our breakout room was really sad too. Oh, sorry, Emily, did I cut you off?
No, I was just gonna say who would die just for no reason.
Well, right, Emily said who would, right? So maybe Emily's also a little bit confused, right? That was a pretty extreme reaction. So you could feel sad, you could feel confused. Did anybody feel anything different that we didn't name? The breakout room that
I was surprised.
Surprised, yeah, right? Surprised. That was a crazy response. Good feelings, nice. Surprised, for sure. All right, and then Sophia, what was one of the themes that we discussed? Oh no, Sophia, you were freezing a little bit. Will you repeat that for me?
That the theme was that Theseus is bad because he didn't change the color to remind everyone that who won.
So when Theseus didn't change the color, what did we say about heroes in that moment? What did we say about heroes? Are they perfect?
No, not all of them.
Right. Not all heroes are perfect. Heroes can make mistakes. Absolutely. Those are all good options. Did anybody think of a different theme from another breakout room? All right, awesome. And I also want to recognize that Rocio said she didn't feel anything, right? And so maybe not all of us felt something. It's a story and we were removed. So maybe we didn't feel anything, right? That's also an option. Sometimes stories make us feel things, but not always. All right, awesome work, guys. So for slide number 8, for each of our learning targets today, we had 2 for each of our learning targets today so that I can assess where we're at and how we're feeling. A lot of times, remember, I give you guys that tell me 1, 2, 3, or 4. For both of your learning targets, I want you to just take a moment to reflect on how you're feeling about both of those. So remember that our first one was demonstrating understanding of different excerpts of Theseus and the Minotaur. So if you feel like you could teach that very well to another person, you put a 4. If you feel like you know it pretty well, you put a 3. If you felt like you're still learning and maybe you have some questions, a 2. And then if you have lots of questions and you're not really sure, we do a 1. And same thing for our learning target, I can use context clues to determine the meaning of unfamiliar words. So just take a minute to reflect and drag your circle over whichever one you're feeling. And then give me a thumbs up when you have reflected and dragged the circle over both of them. Okay, somebody has. Okay. Just give a little bit more time to reflect. Oh, Rocio, good question. Rocio said, what if I'm in the middle of 2 numbers? Then you can go ahead and drag your, so if you're in the middle of like 2 and 3, you could put your circle right there. Really good question, Rocio, right? If you're maybe mostly 3, you could cover mostly 3. If you're 100% 3, you could cover all of 3. Yeah, you're in the middle, absolutely. You can circle like in the middle of 2. Okay. And if you need a little bit more time to reflect, that's great. I just want to make sure that I